What's up, everybody? Metal Dave here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today, we are joined by guitarist Ronnie Younkins. You know him best as one of the guitar players from Kix. He currently has a band called the Blues Vultures. They have 3 albums out. The latest one is called You Can't Ruffle My Feathers. And we talked to Ronnie a bit about the Blues Vultures and, of course, his storied career with Kix. He was fantastic, and I was, I want to give a shout out to Mimi, an associate of his who helped put this together. She reached out to us and suggested him as a guest, and I couldn't be happier that she did, because Ronnie was just raw and honest and colorful and a lot of fun to hang out with. So the guy is a survivor, and he's given us some great music over the years throughout his career with Kix and now with the Blues Vultures. So we learned all about that. I really enjoyed having him.
Yeah, he goes deep in this episode, and it's buckle up, because it's a long one. And I think that it's important to recognize here that he struggles, and he talks about his struggles, and rock and roll has been his way, his voice, and his way to speak. And I think that him, being honest and uncovering a lot of that with his life and his story was special today.
Yeah.
And this episode is not, it's everything that Dave just said, but there's a lot of things that you're going to learn about what someone may or may have to deal with while they're just in between shows, in between rehearsals,
out of the spotlight,
in between everything. Yeah, when you walk, what you had to do that day to get to the stage or to rehearsal, just to survive the day for the hour or whatever on stage, and then what happens when you walk off the stage is kind of a lot what I really cherish about Ronnie's conversation that we had today.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard for some people.
Yeah.
And he is a survivor, and he's been around the block, and he has kicked it in the ass. And it was hard. It might have been a little harder for him than some other people, and I recognize that, and it just makes me walk away and go, wow, he really loves rock and roll.
Yeah.
That he'll do whatever it takes to get to his guitar, to get to the stage, to get to the microphone. And that's powerful. That's super powerful. And if I don't, it's not my place to say, but if it wasn't, I don't know if he didn't have rock and roll, I don't know what he would have that would be called his savior. And his savior is rock and roll.
Yeah.
So, but it's a battle, a daily battle for him. And it was, thank you, Ronnie, for sharing that with us today. It was, he didn't really get emotional, but he was straight up telling you exactly what went down. So
it's the whole rock and roll biz, as you know firsthand, is a double-edged sword, because it is hard to stay on the straight and narrow when you're surrounded by temptation all the time. And it's difficult to fall into those traps. And you said, that Ronnie didn't necessarily get emotional about sharing his battles and his struggles, but he did in a sense, because what I took away from it is, through it all, there's still a certain joy in his voice when he talks to us today. There is a level of gratitude and a certain degree of joy. He does appreciate that he's come through the other side. Yeah. And he's had a very tough go, and he's brutally honest about it today on this show.
Yeah.
But I kept sensing there this inner joy. It's kind of hard to explain until you see and hear him speak today.
Yeah.
But he is not beaten down by it. He
No.
recognizes that he's had some struggles. He recognizes that he hasn't always stood as tall as maybe he would have liked to, but he hasn't let it win.
Yeah.
So
there's a couple things. There's a couple things before we wrap this up that I wanted to mention. There's an Italian artist named Paju, I think I'm saying that right, Paju, that I sing a couple of cover songs on his record, and I wanted to just plug it real quick. And the songs that I did are Metal Thrashing Mad by Anthrax, and I did Wasp Fuck Like a Beast. And there's some other things on there that are pretty fun. And these tunes are produced kind of like lo-fi on purpose. You know, it's kind of like, you know, like listening to a demo or something. And the guy's got a really cool attitude about what he wanted to do with this project, and he was very vocal about it from the very beginning. So you can find those. They're on Bandcamp. Paju is how I say it. It's another one of those projects, Dave, where I've never met the artist or the guy that I'm singing for or anything. And it came out really cool. It was a lot of fun, and I just wanted to plug that. And I just wanted to toot my own horn here again, as I got you can see it over my right shoulder. This is my new award. It's the Slam Award. It's this platinum acoustic guitar on the shelf back there.
yes,
Support life and music. Is the Slam Award, and that is basically similar to the Sims Foundation. They recognize struggles with musicians who might have pitfalls with drug abuse and mental health issues and things like that. And they support life and music. It's exactly what Slam stands for, and they're a nonprofit organization. And I wanted to thank Jack Mangan, I hope I'm saying your name right, and Mark Pruitt, who are on the board of directors, and they awarded me that award this year, and I'm honored.
well deserved. Yes, you shared that news with me, and I couldn't have thought of a more appropriate person. So congrats to you, and hats off to them for recognizing
100%. And there's quite a few of these organizations. If you are struggling and you need help, there's plenty of places online to you can just type in your struggles, and phone numbers, and help is immediate and ready to help you. And like I said, they're nonprofit. They're not trying to take money from other people or little guys or anything. They just are sincere, and they want to help us get to our next song. They want to help us get to the stage. They want to help us stay healthy, so we can do what we need to do to survive.
Right. Well, hats off to them and the great work that they're doing. So, and congratulations to you.
And I think it was very fitting to Ronnie's story that I go ahead and toot my horn about that, because, you know, he calls himself a poster child for just sometimes maybe a shit show, that he had to survive in order to get up there and kick ass. And I'm just glad to see him still kicking ass.
Yeah, exactly. Great story today. Great conversation. A lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, Ronnie is a survivor. He's still with us, and you can see the joy and the gratitude in his eyes and in his voice. And we couldn't have been happier to have him with us today. Ronnie Younkins on the Talk Louder podcast. So it looks like you and Jason might actually have some history. Are you guys familiar? Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We've hung out a few times over the many years.
Yeah.
All right. So a little bit of
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys never toured together, did you? Did you play shows together?
I think the first time that the Toys played with Kix was in Bonner Springs, Kansas.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
And you guys borrowed some of our, I think Donnie was still in the band, and he played y'all borrowed our bass rig or something like that. And when
probably.
And you guys went on before us, because I think you had to split real quick to go do another gig somewhere, because and I wish I would have kept the set list because it would have been kind of an awesome memento. But I remember it like it was yesterday. It came out, and I'm like, all right, motherfuckers. And I look at my set list, and one of your guys had written down on my set list, DT, thank you for the use of your equipment today. Signed, Kicks.
All right.
Yeah. So somebody on your crew was nice enough to say thank you on the way out, right?
That's cool. Probably
Yeah.
Bob Daniels. Yeah, he was my guitar tech. He was a good guy.
Yeah,
Good
man.
manager.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
But
awesome.
the fact that he went out on the stage and got down on one knee and wrote that shit down on the set list.
Yeah. And/or it might have been Donnie. But yeah, thank you very much.
Might have been, yeah, of course. And then
Yeah,
there
he
was
liked using other people's gear or whatever he could get for free.
well, you know,
it's called efficiency. It's called using your resources, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And I like that about him because he would never. I'm a gearaholic, but he was not, and
Okay.
he had I was watching this video last night of Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and there's this photo of them sitting. They have all these Sun amps behind them. And I don't want to change the subject, but
You're
I
good.
was telling my friend, I said, that's what Donnie played through when we started the band. He had a Sun concert bass amp, and it sounded like crap, but it was his bass amp. And he had a little card that he'd take to Washington Music Center when one of the transistors would blow out. And he never spent a dime on that amp. And that's what he used until Peavy gave him gear. And that's what he used then.
Yeah.
And, but if somebody else had gear and he was welcome to use it, thank you very much, you guys.
Smart.
That's called traveling light. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously,
it's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, see you later, man.
Yeah, man. Obviously, there's a lot of history we want to get to regarding your success with Kicks, et cetera. But let's kind of jump right ahead to the present, and we'll go backwards. So, tell us a little bit about you've got a band called the Blues Vultures, and I want people to know about this because you've got 3 albums out.
Yeah,
And
here's
the
one
current-
of them.
Yeah, that's the new one called "You Can't Ruffle My Feathers."
That's right. And my son did the artwork.
Oh, sweet.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Look at
he's
that.
great.
So tell
that's
everybody a little bit about the Blues Vultures, because I'm not sure as many people are aware of it.
Well, we just played Friday night close to home. It's the first time I ever played this place in Hagerstown, Maryland. It's called the Hub City Vinyl. And we played with a group from Baltimore called Stone Horses. John Allen is the lead singer. He was the drummer in a well-known Baltimore band back in the 80s called Child's Play.
Oh,
and
yeah.
John and I are good friends, and we like working together. Our bands work well together. But yeah, that was, we had a great time. What a great venue. The group that I have now consists of Clifford, who's a longtime friend of mine. He plays guitar. And Bryson, the young man, plays bass. And he's a guitar player, but he plays a bass like a bass. And he's really good with that. And then Jeff is our drummer, Jeff Mortimer. And it's the best live group I've ever had, and I'm not knocking any of the other versions of the Vultures. I love all those guys and great players I've played with. The first group was Aaron and Zach. That was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the next version was Joe and Rich on guitar, and great guitar player. And yeah, so this version is we're playing again with Stone Horses. Our next show is at a place called Racehorse Tavern. We played for like 90 minutes, and but the show after that, it's a place called Phantom Power. That's near Lancaster, PA. It's an old theater, and we're gonna again play with Stone Horses, and we played at Phantom Power like a year ago in April. We played with LA Guns there, and it's a cool venue. Probably holds 600 people, theater, old theater. But yeah, people are, you know how it is, you guys. It's like people just like come out of nowhere and they're hungry for rock and roll. You know, you got to give it to them, man. We feed off the fans. It's you know, the energy that comes back from that crowd, man, keeps us going.
It's good to see that you're busy and making the rounds, and if I don't know when this will air, it could be a couple of weeks. And when are these shows, and where can they look up these shows?
Oh,
social.
I was hoping. I thought maybe Mimi sent you the dates. Okay, so I guess she just sent some pictures.
No, if you have
we've got the dates, but
if you have a
you tell the
website,
audience.
If you have a website that they can find all the dates at.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's we have a Facebook page, Blues Vultures Facebook page.
There you go.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm getting there, guys.
Okay.
I'm catching on.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah, so June 13th is Racehorse Tavern. That's near York, PA, Thomasville. And then Phantom Powers in Millersville, Pennsylvania. That's June 26th. And then we're playing a place called the Tally Ho Theater. I'm sure you've played there. It's in Leesburg, Virginia. It's a great venue. Play there August 8th, opening for the Bullet Boys. And then after that, I think we're going to go back to the Racehorse Tavern. We're like house band there. And Jim's a good friend of mine. Jim DeLisio runs the place. Great guy, great club. A lot of people play there. And it's good vibes in that room. And he's been great to us. And then on October 10th, we're going to play in Brooklyn, New York at a place called Lucky 13.
Nice. Hey, Ronnie, can you tilt your camera back a little bit so we can see your... Yeah, that's much better.
There you go. That's better.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, guys.
That's cool. Right. So, first of all, please extend our thanks to Mimi. She's been very helpful in coordinating this interview, and I appreciate it. And was helpful with the photos, etc.
I will, Dave. Absolutely. She's great.
Please do. This kind of came out of the blue, and I'm grateful that it did. So, thanks to her for making this happen.
And I must say, she's booked a lot of these shows that we're playing. We just played at Ram's Head on Stage in Annapolis, Maryland 2 weeks ago. And what a great venue. And she's booked quite a few of these shows for us. So thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to Blues Vultures, the Blues Vultures real quick. The first album came out in like 2005. Is that right? So you've been this is, I had no idea, but this has been in the works now for a long time, 20 plus years. So tell people that aren't familiar, what do you sound like musically? Explain the Blues Vultures.
Well, when I started a band, I moved back. I lived out in LA for a while. Kicks is two versions, and the first version was with the bass player Donnie. Him and I started the band in 1977, December 77, I think.
That's crazy.
And we split up in 96, unfortunately. So everyone went their own way. And I was living out in LA, and I made a CD out there called Slimmer Twins, Lack of Luxury. And then I moved back here because my dad needed me here to help move. I grew up on a farm. We had to clean out the farm because he was going to sell it. And I had a bunch of black boxes in a warehouse of his that said Kicks on it. And I had to get them out of there. So... but yeah, and my mom she was very ill, so I had to come back and be with the family. So I put the band, the Blues Vultures, together because I went back to Howlin' Wolf. I went back to Chuck Berry. I kind of had it with the whole 80s thing. I just had to go back and start over again. And I'm not knocking anything from that era.
No.
But I felt it was time to start all over again. And the first couple songs I played with drummer Aaron Isaacs, who was like looking at me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm playing Howlin' Wolf and Chuck Berry and Muddy Waters. And he goes, huh? Because I thought we were going to rock. I said, well, we will, but let's start with this first. Get back to the roots.
Yeah.
And then the songs that I wrote for CDs, the first two records are a little more, especially the first ones, like very Stones oriented. Stones vibe, kind of Black Crowes kind of feel, that kind of thing.
Right.
Roots rock and roll.
Sure.
Can't Ruffle My Feathers. I've been listening to a lot of T-Rex and like the 72 era bands, Slade, and so I got a little bit heavier with that record.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all roots rock and roll. I'm a big Johnny Winter fan. He's a big influence with me. And like I said, the glitter glam rock bands from 72, the early Alice Cooper group, big influence on me. And Slade, T-Rex, even Sweet, and
I hear some New York Dolls in there too.
Yeah, thank you. I always forget to mention one of my favorites, definitely the New York Dolls. Yeah, definitely. So
they're in there, but they're kind of an extension of the Stones, so it's all kind of the same thing.
Right. And of course, as all of us, all the early Aerosmith stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. So that's what I wanted to get from you. For people that aren't familiar with the Blues Vultures, it's kind of a sort of a rootsy rock, Aerosmith, Stones, Black Crowes, New York Dolls, Alice Cooper kind of vibe.
Absolutely.
And you're singing. So when you started, what did you learn about singing and developing yourself as a vocalist when you started this band? Because obviously in the past, to my knowledge, you really hadn't done it as full time as you do now.
Right.
So when you're developing your voice, what are you learning about your voice and singing in general? And because you worked with Steve Whiteman, who's considered one of the greats, you know. So tell me, from your perspective, going into this as a singer, what are you feeling? What are you learning? How are you finding your way?
I found my way by singing Johnny Be Good.
Okay.
Singing, that was my song, and that was a range that I could handle. That song and Hendrix. I'm a big Hendrix fan. So Red House was a big influence to me too. Just singing the blues and Smokestack Lightning, because I really liked Howlin' Wolf's voice. I'm not as gravelly, but those were songs, three of the key songs that I would play and sing so I could figure out a range that I don't know how wide. I was kidding the guys last week. I said, I had kind of a cold. I said, man, I only have 5 notes and I'm missing 3 of them, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't consider myself a singer, but I like singing.
Sure.
And, you know, I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. And I just hang in there. And Alice Cooper is a big influence with me.
Alice is a crooner, and he's a much better singer than people realize. I mean, he can hit a lot of notes. He's got a lot of notes, and
We'll do a couple covers. Like we'll do a couple different covers in our set. But one of them lately we've been doing is it my body?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have to belt it out.
Yeah.
In a couple of those parts, it's a challenge.
Yeah,
it is. So you're absolutely right.
The ending of that outro chorus, he's on top. The notes up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like probably an A, like A440, I believe. Yeah, and that's so I have to. Yeah, I know. I kind of know what I can and cannot do, and like I said, there's cover songs that I go back to sing and play that are my teachers. And then I listen to these guys, and the character of Alice's voice too is great.
Yeah.
And another one of my favorites is bands, the Chesterfield Kings. And I really like Greg, the lead singer from, well, he's not touring with them now, but he just made a new record. And I love his voice.
That's
got that
one of the
whole,
best band names ever, the Chesterfield.
I know, it's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And so I really like that band. But he's got a new record that I heard about. I got the scoop, and
Right
so
on.
I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning it, but I just did. But anyway,
Yeah.
I kind of know him through some friends. I live vicariously through my friends with Greg, but I've never really met him. I saw the Chesterfield Kings once in D.C. at the Black Cat, and it was with the New York Dolls, probably. It was Sylvain and of course David Johansen is, of course, one of my faves
I
and
can hear it. Yeah.
lead singers, absolutely. Yeah, so that was like one of the most fun shows I ever went to. Was New York Dolls, Chesterfield Kings, and the Super Suckers.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my wife and I had a blast. It was
That's a
great.
good bill. That's a good bill.
That's a good bill, man.
Yeah, it rocked, and we had a great time there.
So
And,
when I'm listening to You Can't Ruffle My Feathers, and there's a couple songs I wanted to ask about. And tell me if I'm wrong, but Hang Me Out to Dry, Step Aside, Mr. Hyde, and the title track sound like they could be very autobiographical. Are these
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. You want to shed a little light on those songs?
I guess that my soul was crying out for being back in the game, because there was 3 years I was out of the game. I went. Most people know I've had a history of drug and alcohol addiction, and I am sober and clean now. I'm very grateful to be there. And long story short, I sober and cleaned up when I was 32 years old. I went to Hazelden, Center City, Minnesota. 21 years later, little did I know, I had hepatitis C. I had to go on the old interferon ribavirin treatment, and I had a lot of side effects. One of them was I couldn't sleep. Doctor, knowing that the reason I had hepatitis C, he knew I was a recovering alcoholic addict with 21 years sobriety. He put me on Ambien to sleep, and it got me high. I don't know if it affects anybody else like it did me, but it got me high, and I got hooked on it. And I was not telling anybody I'd relapsed.
Wow.
And I knew I did. And it went from kind of this, not like an LSD trippy feeling, but it went at this fuzzy kind of trippy thing at first. But then I guess when my tolerance grew, it got to this thing where I would black out on it. And I had this, my wife knew me sober and clean for years. She met me when I was 9 years sober and clean. She knew me 14 or something like that, do the numbers, but if I could do the math real quick. But she knew me sober and clean for like 14 years. And all of a sudden she'd like punch me in the arm in the morning, go down and clean up the kitchen. There was this thing where I would remember, it would make me hungry. So I'd pull out the peanut butter and jelly at midnight, but I wouldn't remember smearing it all over the cabinets or leaving the knife and the stuff laying out and making a mess. And then I would black out off this Ambien. And I was hooked on this stuff and not telling anybody at my meetings. And I went through a period where I had this big brother. He was my AA sponsor for like 17 years. He was in the music business. He lived out in LA. And he was great with me. Record companies went down. He had to get 2 other jobs to keep his home going. I was his 7th sponsee. He had to let me go, and I never found another sponsor. So I have a lot of excuses. And then I worked through my mom's passing away with Paul when I was like 41 years old, went through grief into acceptance. Well, here I am, relapsed on Ambien. My dad dies, and I wasn't talking to anybody about it. And a month after he died, I knew I'd relapsed. I got the F. It's the great national anthem of a recovering alcoholic drug addict. F it. I was out the door buying hard drugs, which led me back into drinking. And the disease of alcoholism, and I tell this at meetings, that is progressive. I vouch for that. I am the poster man of the progression of alcoholism, because when I was 32, one rehab, and I came out and did everything they suggested that I do, and I stayed sober and clean for 21 years, and I had a great sponsor, and I went to meetings, and I shared, and but this time around, it was 10 years and 5 rehabs. So the record, the 5th time was the doozy. Each consequence got worse than the one before. Well, this time I got arrested, I got thrown in jail, and luckily by the skin of the teeth of my lawyer and a friend of mine that ran a rehab, they came there, and that judge did not want to let me. He's been in here before. It's my 2nd time I got arrested for drunken and disorderliness, and because I've changed. I've turned into Mr. Hyde. Step aside, Mr. Hyde, and that's hang me out to dry. I mean, that story is me. It's about people putting up with me and my antics, and me cleaning up and staying. Well, it's more than staying dry. It's staying sober. It's a whole change of personality too, and working on character flaws and defects, and taking a look at what I can do better. If there's principles in this program that I try to follow, and I failed, but I try to do better each day. And so I went. This time around, they locked me up for 6. I was locked away, and by the skin of the teeth, the Danny from the rehabilitation center, and my lawyer got me out. Just something they said, and the judge went, okay. And I was like, oh my God, because I thought I was in for quite a while. And they took me to a rehabilitation center. Probation officer came, GPS'd me, put an ankle brace on me. And Danny was there. And Danny goes, why don't you put it around his neck?
Wow.
And I'm like looking at Danny, goes, thanks, man. And, he did get it. We got a laugh. There wasn't much humor in any of that, but he got a little laugh out of me. But she had fire in her eyes. She put that ankle brace on me, and I was GPS in that rehab for 6 months. Wow. So Kix had to replace me.
Yeah.
And Bob Perry took my place. And so I was in there for 6 months, mandatory. And then when I left, it was mandatory. I couldn't go out of state. I was mandatory to a year and a half of strict recovery houses, of which I lived in. I lived in 3 different ones. And so and for 5 months, I was not allowed to speak to my wife or family. I didn't know if I'd ever speak to them again, really. And then I was facing like 10 years in jail. And I count my blessings. So that record, my heart and soul poured out on that record, making You Can't Ruffle My Feathers. And those songs are about my trials and tribulations of drugs and alcohol, and how I'm grateful to be sober and clean now.
Well, and I can hear it in the lyrics, and I can see it in your face as we're sitting here talking today. And I'm glad that the music is offering a therapeutic outlet for you.
100%.
And thank you, guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And we wish you continued success in sticking to it, because obviously, as you said, it's not easy. It is truly one day at a time. If you were sober for 20 some years and then fell off the wagon, I mean, it can happen to anyone at any time. So good on you, man.
Yes. Thank you. I must stay vigilant, and I have my routine and things that I do, and meetings and my people that I call. I have a sponsor now, and I have my close AA guys I talk with, and so I am very grateful for that. Gratitude is a key element too. Attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for me to have an attitude, and that gets nowhere.
Well, for the record, and our listeners and people listening to this, pretty incredible story and fight for just, you know, some kind of reality for your soul, right? Some kind of healing on on a daily basis, just so you don't step in the shit again, you know.
Absolutely.
Every time that I've been in a room with you, you have been so sweet.
Thank you, Jason. And you were really kind with us. I can't remember the venue. You were at a club we played. Oh, gosh. And I remember you coming back going, oh, I haven't seen you guys for a while. And I remember you going, oh, you guys don't have facial hair. I remember you saying that because
wow, that's weird.
It was like early 90s. Everybody had, you know.
Might have been a time where people were growing their fuzz,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it was like early 90s or something. It was the changeover. But yeah, I remember you saying that. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, you could probably go down the street wherever we were and walk into a club and see a band and they'd all have weird beards, you know, and then you keep going, oh, here's Kicks. Oh, no weird beards, you know.
No, yeah.
So.
Gosh, I can't remember that club. I guess it was.
Was it in Maryland? Was it in the East Coast?
It was out west.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
it could have just somewhere in LA, I guess. Yeah.
Well, where do you reside? If you don't, if you don't mind me asking.
No, we're in Texas. We're in Austin, Texas.
So it had to have been in Texas. It was probably close to where you live.
Okay.
Somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
Who knows? It's been a lot of years.
Who knows? Yeah. And so you are in Texas. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't want to belabor the point of your struggles, but I do want to touch on something that I thought was interesting. It seems to me, at least from a public perspective, that through all your trials and tribulations, it seems like your bandmates in Kicks really fought hard to keep you in the band as much as possible. And again, I'm on the outside looking in, but I never got this sense that they were ready to just quickly give you the boot. It seemed to me anyway, from the outside, that, you know, they were trying to give you chances. They were trying to be patient. They were trying to keep your slot available to you when and if you were able to return. Is that fairly accurate, that those guys were, you know,
yes,
your bros?
Dave, you're correct. And I regret woulda, coulda, shoulda. Have where I sit today and what I know and feel today, I can't believe that I did not recognize how hard they tried to keep me in that group. And I was so defiant. I mean, my whole personality was different under influence. And even if I hadn't used anything for a week or so, I'm still changed. My ungratefulness, my attitude, ego, just resentments. Oh, that's a great one for an alcoholic. Or we love to chew on resentments. It got me nowhere.
Yeah.
And I love those guys, and I appreciate everything that they did to keep me as long as they could try to put up with me and keep me. And, you know, I would, the 5 of you, I would come out and I'd be on top of the game again, and then I would start faltering again and falling off. And I just don't know why. It was like the devil had a hold of me. I count myself for it, but there were some very scary times and very, like, I felt just like it wasn't me. It was like demons and things. And I mean, of course, there was the drugs too, you know, taking dark places. But I must say that they did. You were absolutely right, Dave. They tried. They did the best that they could do with what they knew. And Brian was a great catalyst for that as well. He's got a story as well to tell.
He's some of the same struggles, if not the exact ones, right?
Yes. When I lived in LA, I was like 10 years sober and clean, and it's when Kicks had split up for 8 years, and I watched my friend go through it.
Yeah.
And it was hard. And so it was hard on those guys too, what I did. And it was not fair to them. And it wasn't fair to the guy that's sitting here right now. It wasn't fair to my family, my wife and kids either, and my friends.
Yeah.
And but I was caught up, and I was dancing with the devil, and I was not me, and try not to make any more excuses. But yeah, when it went down the last time, that was the rock bottom, and that was when they had no choice but to replace me.
Well,
And
you've put a lot of years into these songs with the Vultures, and these lyrics just have to be kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but just some kind of come to Jesus a little bit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and the way that your way that you're sort of bloodletting and rinse, and not repeat.
Right.
Exactly.
Rinse and stay rinsed.
That's right, Jason.
A baptism, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were men who came through in the 6 months I was in the rehab who helped change my soul. And,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I play rock and roll, and I'm still like, it all ties in together, the whole, I went through when I was young, I was just, we were there in my teens and early 20s. It was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and, that attitude. But then you get older, and it's not going to work anymore. And you have to grow up at some point.
No,
and
it's like it's cute. I tell the little ones, you're really cute, but cute wears off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like the shit that's working for you right now, not going to work for you in a couple of years. So you have to. Is there a way to prepare for that? Probably not. But it's just a life lesson, and I think that rock and roll is a way to save. I think it saves people every day.
I do too.
Yeah.
It brings people together.
Yeah.
And there's it brings people together. People have a good time. People open up. We get to share one another. We talk after the show. And the message in the lyrics. And I'm not a religious person, but I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in angels. And there were times there was a time where I woke up in my addiction, where I was walking along the roadside in Baltimore, because I was. There were times in my 10 years where my family didn't even want me here because it was so bad. So I was staying with a friend's house, and I went out and drank, and I blacked out. And 20 hours later, I woke up walking along the roadside with a hospital tag on my wrist. And I didn't even look to see where I had been. This is how bad I was. I just ripped it off, threw it on the ground. I woke up and I saw the sun. I went, oh, it's a beautiful sunny day. I'm walking along the roadside, don't know where I was. I finally remembered that the last evening I left my friend's house on a bicycle, like a nice bike, which I didn't have. I lost it. And I noticed my head was numb. My rib cage, I was bruised from the front to the back. But what did I do? I'm walking going, I gotta find a liquor store. And I found a liquor store. I had a few dollars, and I bought some liquor and drank it. And I didn't have a phone. And I was like, gosh, where does my friend live? I didn't even know what road I was on. But I believe that, someone was looking out for me. They did for me what I could not do for myself. And so I recognize that, and I don't take it for granted. So every day I try to connect with my higher power and be guided and directed. And I try to do the next right thing, if possible.
Whatever it takes, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Right. And that's my key to my sobriety is my belief in a higher power.
I hope that you writing songs and lyrics and singing them is kind of keeping you on the path.
That is second for me. My God, my family, and then third, which used to be number one all the time when I was younger. The rock and roll attitude, rock and roll guitars. That's what got me started. I didn't want to stop at anything. I was like, let's do this.
Yeah.
But now, and yes, I recognize that. I mean, that's what I do. I can't put these things down. They're hanging all around, and I can't wait to pick one up. And I have ideas for a song this morning that I'm trying to find a melody for. And I have new songs that I've made little demos of that are probably going to be where I'm at now, and with my change in life. And like you said, 3 years, what's working for me today, it's going to be different then.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we go through changes, and I'm like I said, that's it came out in this last record, The Trials and Tribulations. When I started the Blues Vultures, I was in my 21 years of sobriety.
Right.
So those songs were just about, fun things, guitars, what we like to write about, guitars and having fun at a show and that kind of thing. And let's, getting together and
celebratory.
Yes. So, but thank you for asking, and I hope I kind of touched on and answered your question.
No, absolutely, and I appreciate your candor and your honesty. That's you're lucky to be alive, man. And
I am,
and we're glad that you are, of course. And hearing your struggle, but more importantly, hearing your gratitude is really it's very uplifting and inspiring. So, thank you for sharing that.
You are welcome, Dave. And like Jason said too, it all connects back to the rock and roll. And I mean, I really do take it to heart, and it means so much to me to be able to play this guitar. I go down and try to play the drums. I love drums. I don't know what I'm doing, but I play them. And I got a piano sitting here. I can't play that either, but I can still bang around on it.
That's your next challenge. There you go.
Yeah. So, but guitar, it's, trying to play in different tunings or just picking up acoustic. Jason, you guys, and Dave, I'm sure you're a musician.
I am not.
You're not? Okay.
I'm just a music fan, and my way of staying in the game was being a music journalist. So
okay, I got it.
There was a point where I realized I'm not going to be the guy on stage, so how can I contribute?
Well, you are. I'm grateful to be on here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We're grateful to have you. Let's jump to kicks. So you did the 1981, I think, is the debut album, and then, and you guys, you were on Atlantic. Tom Allen was producing the record. He had some success with Judas Priest. You got some pretty key ingredients at work there. And then by '83, the Cool Kids record, you're out of the band all of a sudden. And then you come back for Midnight Dynamite.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was the catalyst for that brief departure in between those two records?
Drugs and alcohol, attitude, and I wouldn't learn Get Your Monkeys Out for Cool Kids record. I started the band with Donnie. We started out with a couple guys from Pittsburgh when we started the band. I was 20. I think he was 23. And we were so poor we couldn't keep him down. He was a lead singer and a guitar player, Tunes. So they went back. Donnie goes, what are we going to do? So he wanted to go get a job. I said, no, you can't get a job. I know a guitar player, Brian. He's in my hometown. And I used to go see Brian's band play. He used to come see mine. So called Brian. We moved into his basement. We had a drummer, Donnie Spence, who played drums with. He played in bands in my teens. And we had a couple different lead singers. One was a singer from Donnie's previous glitter rock band, which Jimmy played drums in, Terry Brady. Great singer. I still talk to him. And great guy, great singer. But he wanted to, he was like going into a career. And he knew that he was just going to work with us until we found a singer. Yeah, so the songs, what I'm getting at is the songs that attracted me to Donnie was these Aerosmithy groove songs. Atomic Bombs was the first song I ever played with him. It's got that riff, and it's a fourth on an A and D string. It's very Aerosmithy sounds to me. He had songs like called Last Call and Catch Me Out, that Chi tunes from Pittsburgh we would jam on. And for about 3 months we played together, and until we couldn't afford to keep him down here, and they went back to Pittsburgh. But and then Brian, we started together. We played these songs, but we also learned a lot of cover songs too, because we knew to play Donnie's originals, we had to play 3 hours or 3 sets a night. So we learned a lot of covers, and we did the first record with Tom Allen. He was great, all levels on 10. I was all about that. And we actually played together in the studio together, and we did guitar overdubs and solos. Steve did a scratch vocal while we tracked together, old school. Jimmy was way back in the corner behind the Gojos. Brian, and I was across from Donnie. We had the Gojos, the isolation.
Yeah, like a baffle.
Baffles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. So we tracked that, and we did it in a month. And it was Tom Allen was all about the energy, and it was great. And so we played all these cool songs, like the riff, like the Kid, and we're doing all these songs. So we go and we play shows, and we toured with out west with Triumph, which was not the best match for us, and that's a whole nother story. But we came back, and then Donnie's coming in with this song called Get Your Monkeys Out, and I was like, what? And I wouldn't learn it. And at the same time, dummy me ends up living with this girl who ended up being a drug dealer and was giving me hard drugs, and I'm showing up a half hour late to practice, not doing my homework, and kind of whacked out. And the guys are like scratching their heads going, oh boy, here we go. And I just wouldn't learn that Get Your Monkeys Out song. I was like, Mr. Attitude I was. But I kind of said it with a bit of humor, but it wasn't funny at the time. So I got fired, and tail between my legs, I went to Los Angeles, and for like 6 months, played with different guys, some guys from the Damals, and some guys from Chicago. I actually played with Chip from Enough's Enough.
Yeah.
Some of these guys from the Malls, they were connected with the Chicago guys, and I ended up in Chicago for a couple of weeks playing with Chip, and that was a good band. And Desi, what was his name? Dwayne, I think. He played guitar and sang. It was a good band. But then the guy that I told, I can't remember his name, but he was in L.A. He was from Chicago, and I was taking Dwayne's spot in his band. He came to Chicago. He said, you told us you were going to be out to play in our band. So I went to L.A., did these shows with these guys, and then did an audition with Kiss. That was when they were like auditioning like 120 guitar players, and that was cool getting to meet those guys. And Gene gave me a compliment. He said, you play like Paul Kossoff. That's one of my favorite guitar players.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. I met, hung out with guys from, I was young. I was 24 or 5, and, that's when Motley Crue started out. And I went to see their shows. They were just starting out, and they made all their stage props and everything. Went to couple of their rehearsals and hung out. I would hang out with Tommy. We had a lot of fun, and you know, at the Troubadour and that kind of thing. So I was young doing that thing, but then a band from back east asked me to come play with them. I came back across country, listening to these tapes these guys sent me. I get here and go audition for them, only they're playing like Judas Priest covers, and they're only playing a couple of their originals. They sent me their original to play, and I was like, I'm not knocking Judas Priest at all. Like, it was a great band. We kicked open for them a couple times, but I wasn't into that. Sure. That was a little too heavy for me.
Yeah,
right.
So I was like, oh, God, I came all the way back across the country, and I'm not into playing Judas Priest. And nothing against that group. I recognize their talent and catchy songs and everything. But so I'm staying in my parents' basement, and all of a sudden I get a call from Steve. And Steve and Brian came over my parents' house and said, are you off of that stuff? I go, yeah, that's like, I left that girl and got my guitars and left that horrible apartment and her evil ways and got the hell away from that. But I was on the marijuana booze maintenance plan, so to speak, not knowing anything about AA. I think I heard about it. I didn't know I was cross-addicted. So I moved to Hagerstown, lived above Steve. None of us were from Hagerstown, but it was kind of like the middle point where all of us came from. Frederick and Steve from West Virginia and Donnie and Jimmy from Waynesboro. It was the central point, and it was cheap to live there. So we had a place there, a couple of rehearsal places. But so I came back, and I guess Brad Dimmons wasn't working out or something. And so within 2 weeks, I was back in the band and learned all the songs, and I didn't have to play Get Your Monkeys Out. They didn't play that one.
There you go.
That's a long route to a victory there, man.
I
kind of rambled on, but that's the story.
No, not the way you told the story, but the fact that you physically moved across the country because of the song, and then you came back and okay, you didn't have to play.
Yeah,
I have a little tidbit I wanted to throw at Ronnie here, and I feel like I've told Ronnie and those guys this story. It had to have been 83 or 84, which would have been probably Midnight Dynamite, but you guys were playing a lot of stuff off the first record. On USA Network. I saw Wrathchild and Kix, a back-to-back live concert. It was not on MTV. It was on USA Network, and it was a network television feature. And there were interviews with the band. I don't really recall the interviews with you guys, but I recall them interviewing, Shannon Larkin and maybe Brad and that was the first I had heard of either of those bands, and I went right out and got the first album. After that, I sort of worked my way backwards kind of thing.
Well, thank you.
And I hadn't heard anything like from that area or like that, or I was like, what is kind of rock and roll is this?
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't really know, because I'm a metalhead. I don't know if you know that about me, Ronnie. I'm a full-on fucking thrash metal.
Oh, really?
I love that. Yeah, I love that shit. And I was in this.
All right. Yeah.
For 10 years, I was in this band called Watchtower. This would have been prior to Dangerous Toys. This would have been 82, almost up to the time I had to jump ship to go make the record with Max Norman with the Toys. But so I learned a lot. I mean, I was into the Merciful Fate and Judas Priest, of course, and all of the new thrash metal stuff. But I grew up on Elton John and Queen and Kiss, and Alice Cooper, and everybody also knows that about me.
Okay.
But when I saw you guys in Wrathchild, I was just like, this is a whole other style that I hear the Aerosmith, I heard the AC/DC, and Wrathchild was kind of a heavy band. They were heavy. They were fucking even back then they were fucking heavy. And then I know they had to change their name to Wrathchild America, and that's when the MTV sort of soaked it up, and those guys became popular really quick too. So anyway, that was my sort of introduction to, your Hagerstown, your Maryland, your Pittsburgh, that whole, you know what I mean?
Tri-state.
Weird kind of East Coast, kind of heavy, but also groovy,
Right.
kind of thing. So it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things. And then, just a handful of years later, I'm hearing of Dirty Looks and even Child's Play and
Cinderella, Skid Row.
People that you guys know, people that you guys know that you guys probably played with them all the time. So
yeah, we did quite a few shows with Dirty Looks, and like I said, I just played Friday night with John Allen from Child's Play.
Yeah,
he's got his band, a great band, Stone Horses. They have this song out right now. It's called "Make a Living." It's great, and
awesome.
And I went up and played a couple songs with them the other night. A song called "When I Get Paid" and "Make a Living." They're great songs. And John came up and sang 3 kick songs with the Blues Vultures. And we never used to play kick songs, but I had an opportunity to play at the Whiskey A Go-Go a little over a year ago. And Jake, part of the gig ticket was that we played 2 kick songs.
Okay.
And this was with the previous band with Joe and Rich. They weren't really Kicks fans, so it was kind of hard to sell that on them, but they did it. I said, it'll be over. Just look at it like you're playing a couple cover songs. And we get to play at the Whiskey, and we get to play the Blues Vultures songs, and we get to go out. So, and then we played Vegas. So then when I got back, we kept playing those songs, and people, it's 2 that we can handle, because nobody in the Vultures can sing. Not many people can sing, Steve.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And even John Allen the other night goes, and John's a great singer. He goes, man, because I don't know if I can do Midnight Dynamite. Yeah, you can do it. And he did.
Yeah.
But he goes, man, that guy is an amazing singer. And I said, he's
definitely.
It was effortless for him to do what he did. And it's just like, he didn't recognize. I took it for granted at the time. Anyway, having said that, I got off track. But so John came up and sang. We still do. We added a song because he could sing Midnight Dynamite. We do The Kid. I can manage singing that one. Kind of do it my own way a little bit. And we do Atomic Bombs every night. Our bass player Bryson sings that one. But then we added Midnight Dynamite, and John sang all 3 of them the other night. So people enjoyed that.
Well, you're making you're giving them a little piece of candy, Yeah,
and they liked it. So, you have to give people what they want.
Yeah,
too.
Nothing wrong with that. A little bit of that's good.
And
so you come back. You come back in time for the Midnight Dynamite record, and now I'm thinking. I started this conversation by talking about the ingredients being in place with the debut. You had Tom Allom. You were on Atlantic Records.
Right.
Midnight Dynamite. Is that Beau Hill?
Yes.
Yeah. So Beau has success already with the debut Rat album.
Yes.
And there's this, and I want to spend a little more time on this, but just for reference, Bob Halligan Jr. has like 7 out of 10 co-writes on Midnight Dynamite.
Yes.
And so you've got a guy who's not quite yet known as a go-to songwriter, but he's about to be. So the talent's there, I assume. Are you guys sensing at that point on the Midnight Dynamite album that things are about to shift? I mean, obviously you can't predict the future, but was there sort of a new energy or a feeling that you were taking the next step towards commercial success or maybe a mainstream breakthrough? Or was it just another record and it just happened to turn out that way?
I kind of felt something, but at the same time, it was more like we reap what we sow. We knew we had to keep going up and down the East Coast and playing from Boston down to Fort Lauderdale. We knew that, we had to go out and play these songs. But I could kind of, what you're talking about, I could kind of feel the vibe with the songs. And I really liked Midnight Dynamite, and I liked all the songs on it, and I enjoyed, I really poured my heart and soul into working on those songs for Donnie, with Brian, and I could hear a transition in the music, that it was growing and developing into something more. And that was a challenging record to make. And working with Tom Allen was a lot of fun. He let me be me, and kind of Ross's riff guitar kind of thing. My Chuck Berry leads and that kind of thing. And Joe Perry influenced a couple of the solos, of course. But Bo Hill was tough.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I met my match there because he was a keyboard player. And I didn't quite know what he wanted. And he came from making this record with one of the greatest guitar players on the planet, Warren DeMartini.
Yeah.
And Brian and I are, Chuck Berry. Where's my guitar? I turned it off, but I don't know what happened. But we're these Chuck Berry guys and Stones guys. Grew up on the Beatles, and Bo's like scratching his head because he wanted to hear some finger tapping and that kind of thing. And
you guys don't do that.
No. And
No.
he was like, so we recorded. I think he finally got what we were doing, and he captured it. However, we met our match when it came to a song that I remember being in my little apartment above Steve, working on the last rhythm to a song called Scarlet Fever. We got in a van, went to New York to record. And I'm just learning it. And I already knew I was going to play on Midnight Dynamite and some of the other songs. But when we got to that song, we laid down the rhythm tracks, and Brian and I really hadn't gotten to dig in on that solo. And there's a big 8-count break, and it's kind of a choppy rhythm. It's not one of your more flute, like bluesy 1-4-5 kind of groove kind of things. This was a challenge. And we went in there, and Brian and I didn't have the goods for the solo. And we went back the next day, and the door was locked to Studio A. And Brian and I are looking at, what's going on? Out come Donnie and Steve going, wow, what a solo, man. Bo had called a friend of his, Mike Slammer, and Mike knew how to play this finger tapping stuff, and he laid down a hell of a solo for this song.
Which song is this?
Scarlet Fever.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, on Midnight, we did a relit, and Bo Hill mixed it a few years ago, maybe 8 years ago, and I re-recorded the solo, and I kind of took that vibe that Mike had, and I put my thing in it, so I re-recorded that solo. But long story short, I learned a lot from that, in that I knew that I was going to be the guy that had to play that solo live. Brian goes, I'm not doing that. So I got on a train, left down in Baltimore, and I went to Trenton, New Jersey, and I stayed with Mike Slammer. This is after the record. We did that album in 2 pieces. We did it in the winter, and was that 84, I guess, and then in the summer 85. Brian would know. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it wouldn't have been 83. So it was 84, and then Bo had another project, and we went back in the summer and finished it. So I went up in the meantime because I knew we were going to do that song live, and I stayed with Mike Slammer and became good friends with him. And he's a little bit older than me, a couple of years. And he taught me that solo, and he taught me the finger tapping thing. And it's the first time I ever tried to do that. And he taught me I learned a lot of licks from him I didn't know. And we ended up writing some songs together. And then he moved out in L.A. I remember seeing him when we were recording Blow My Fuse. I would go to his house out there. We wrote a song that didn't make it on the Blew My Fuse record, but it was like number 15. It was called All Tied Up. And but yeah, I really became good friends with Mike Slammer. He taught me a lot. That solo broke me out of my shell, kind of humbled me, and I needed that. And so I went up and took lessons from him. And he was a great guy to be around. Get up, make coffee, go straight to the guitars.
Love it.
He was from England, He said Eric Clapton was his big influence. He played in a band there called City Boy on a label, Capitol maybe, a couple records. So he moved here. He goes, well, when I moved here, he goes, Van Halen was big. He said, I thought I better learn how to play that stuff.
Right.
But he's an Eric Clapton fan. And so, yeah, that was part of it. So Beau Hill was tough. And to this day, when I would see him again, like we would play Houston. I think he lives in Austin. He would come see us play in the last, I don't know, 10 or 20 years. A couple times we crossed paths, and I'd just say, Beau, I finally learned that fourth chord, and he'd laugh. And but he was a great producer, and we made a great record with him.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about the guitar sounds so much, but the Relit album, that's the stuff. That's how guitars sound, and he mixed that. And, Mark was the second bass player in the Kick band, the second edition.
He's from Texas.
Who's that?
Mark from Texas?
No, he's from Gaithersburg, Maryland.
He's from over there. Okay.
Yes, and I don't know where exactly he was born, but when I met him back during the Midnight Dynamite era.
Okay.
Yeah, he played in a couple bands in the area. He played guitar, and I didn't know he was practically a genius, but he's a really smart guy. We were two knuckleheads that hung out and drank beers together, and he had a shop. He painted our Nut Wagon. That's our old Ford van. And I just thought he played guitar, and, we chased some women and drank some beers. We did what we did back then. And I don't know if that sounded right, but that's what we did. Anyway.
Well, that's what everybody did. You weren't alone.
Mark, I come to find out, is a very smart, intelligent man. He, when he joined the group, but yeah, so Midnight Dynamite was a great record. It was a test. Something I needed to do was to break out of my shell and learn how some other styles of guitar playing.
So one of the reasons I ask about Bob Halligan, there's a couple reasons. Bob Halligan Jr. Famously to me at least, co-wrote "Take These Chains" off the Judas Priest record. Screaming for Vengeance.
Right.
So
yeah,
"Screaming for Vengeance" is one of my top 3 all-time favorite records.
Yeah, what a great song.
And that song in particular, some people think it's kind of one of the weaker tracks on that album. I love it. For me personally, it's one of my favorites on that record. So
it's a great song.
I noticed then that Halligan has a lot of writing credits with you guys on the Midnight Dynamite record. And then, of course, he co-writes on the Blow My Fuse record, your biggest hit, Don't Close Your Eyes.
Yeah.
So between those two albums, Midnight Dynamite moving into Blow My Fuse, and this would probably be a question maybe for Donnie especially, but what was the band's feelings? How did the band feel about bringing in outside writers? Was that something the band sought out, or was that something that was sort of pushed on you by the label?
Not knowing for sure, I'm going to say that it was suggested by our management and or the record company to Donnie. I really don't know for sure how that transpired.
Right. Okay.
But I do know that Donnie genuinely really liked working with Bob. Once he met and went up to New York and worked with him, he made many trips up to New York. I know that he respected Bob, and I know that Bob really got along with Donnie quite well. They were a great match together, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
It
I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, you had a number back when charts were a thing and they actually meant something. I mean, you were number 11. That's pretty damn incredible. So everybody, even people that don't know Kicks, know that song, Don't Close Your Eyes. And I think that's the mark of sort of a ubiquitous song. It's so big that it can't be ignored, and people might not even know who's singing this, but they know the song. That's your song. For that is your song that meets that definition. The song that was everywhere, that no one could ignore. They might not be able to name the band or the singer or you, but they know they've heard that song before.
Exactly.
And that album is chock full of killer stuff. I love, the title track. She dropped me the bomb. That's an awesome song.
Yes, it is.
Don't Close Your Eyes. Of course, Cold Blood is on that record.
One of my favorite songs.
That whole record is super, super solid. And it afforded you guys,
title track's my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, the whole album is great. And it afforded you guys a new level of success. And I don't mean that in terms of money and riches and that sort of thing.
No.
But visibility, I'm sure it brought invitations to do bigger tours. Do you have a memorable tour from that era where Kicks is sort of on top of the world and you're out with an arena band headline, opening for a headliner? What was your pinnacle of success with that record?
I would say that it was touring with Rat. Those guys were great to tour with.
Yeah, okay.
We played with those guys. I remember being on a bus for 6 months. I loved it. The whole routine. I miss it to this day. And playing with those guys. Yes, we were the opening act. And I think there were a couple different bands in between us. I think like Brittany Fox, and then I think there were a couple other groups that came out too. But we were first act. We would go on first. But hey, we had a chance, and they gave us a chance. And those guys, we got along great with them. We couldn't get Robin out of her dressing room. He was always in our dressing room. And but yes, that was. And I just turned 32, and it was January of '89. We'd already recorded Blow My Fuse in Los Angeles, came back, and I hit bottom on drugs and alcohol. And our management, God bless him, Mark Krumah, he managed Twisted Sister and Zebra. And an A&R man from Atlantic had went to this place in Center City, Minnesota, called Hazelden, and he said it's January. He said, put his ass on the plane, send him to Center City, Minnesota. He's not going anywhere. It's 25 below zero. Because I checked in a couple rehabs in D.C. or Baltimore, and I left when they weren't looking, and they a road manager had to keep me locked in a room we had 4 shows to do around Christmas, and they actually had to lock me in a room to keep me around to do these shows. The management had set up and sent me to Hazelden, and I paid the record company back once I came out of there. And it was crazy. I was in the rehab, and the first week I was there, I was like an animal. I wasn't paying attention. And 2 guys chewed me out from the peers in the groups about my craziness. I was like a wild animal. And I started listening because of those 2 guys. And I just did my counselor, Jim, he was the greatest. Put up with me. He told my parents and the band that this guy had done a 180. He's just like, they turned me around. They like broke a wild horse in there. And this was an amazing establishment, Hazelden. They do all the publishing for the meditation books and the AA readings and stuff. So there I was, and it was right. It was 25 below zero, and I wasn't going to leave. And it saved my life. And ironically, I talked with Steve once on the phone. He goes, Ronnie, the record's out. And he goes, it's selling up to 250,000 copies. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, we're going on a tour. He goes, our friend Jimmy Bones is going to fill in for you for a couple weeks. We're going to send you a video of the set. And I had a guitar there. And they let me have on downtime, they let me practice through the video. And ironically, that bus and that Rat tour, Jimmy was playing for a couple weeks in my place. I love that guy and a great guitarist. And ironically, that bus came to Minnesota the day before I was to leave the rehab. So the Kicks band came to the rehab, met Jim. I remember walking out with the guys. We went to rehearse at Prince's rehearsal studio.
Paisley Park or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it, Jason.
Yeah.
The road crew set up all the gear. I rehearsed with them. And then I was right back on the bus the next day. And some people, how did you do that? And they said, well, the guys want me sober. They're watching me. I had my 24-hour day book. I had the tools that I needed to stay sober and clean from my great counselor, Jim Linehan, at that Hazelman. And this was way before cell phones. They gave me 2 thick books of AA meetings all across the United States. And the routine of being on that bus, knowing what I had to do each day, and I practice a lot. I love practicing, and I play a lot before show and even after. But that whole routine and being on that bus and knowing I wanted to be 110% for those guys, and I had a chance, and I was so grateful to be back. And yeah, a couple of guys still drink their beer, one of them smokes some weed. I just go to the back of the bus. And I pay no attention to it. That was what they're doing. That's not what I'm doing now. And then when we stayed in a hotel, I would room with Brian. I would try not to wake him up at 8 in the morning. I would get up, call a cab, go to AA meeting. I went to meetings all across the United States because of those 2 books Hazelman gave me. So that tour means a lot to me and means a lot to my 21 years sobriety. I believe that foundation that I had being on that Rat tour and having that protocol, that direction, that thing, like you said, rock and roll, I tell people rock and roll saved my life. Yeah. It really did. And it still does. Yeah. I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have music to play. I mean, I'm sure I would find something that I would be interested in. Art or something. But
you can make hats, or
Well, so here's what I'm getting out of this, and this is interesting because that record, "Blow My Fuse," is not only monumental in the career of Kix, for all the obvious reasons that anyone on the outside could see with their own 2 eyes and hear with their own 2 ears, of course. But I didn't know that. So that album for you personally. Not only was it the album that catapulted you to success, but it's also for you personally an album that is monumental because it turned you around. And I had no ideas. I had no idea that was going on behind the scenes. That is a crazy story.
Yeah, we were looking
pick you up in the tour bus. Pick you up from rehab on the tour bus, and there you go on your new path. While the band is exploding all around you, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think that Dave's question was like, what was your pinnacle of success on that run and that at that time with that record? And then the story you just told is kind of this wide-eyed.
Wow.
Like it was a survival for me on top of the band doing great and the record doing great. It was just a way for me to learn how to survive in the jungle with all of the temptations that are automatic, and they're going to be there in front of you on a daily basis. It was your learning facility.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So then, that album puts you on the map in a big way. Midnight Dynamite sort of scratched the surface. All your albums sort of widened your audience to a degree, but that one blew it wide open, right? So that one blows it wide open. And then here comes Hotwire. I think that is a really solid record as well.
100%.
But it's
Thank you.
1991, and we all know what's going to happen here. But the musical landscape hasn't quite changed yet in 1991. It's about to in a big, huge way, as we all know. But at the moment, it's not quite, grunge is not quite the new thing all over the place 24/7 quite yet. It's about to be, but it's not there yet. So why the sharp, I hate to use the word sharp, but it's like comparing Back in Black to For Those About to Rock. Some people think For Those About to Rock was a failure because it didn't measure up to Back in Black, but how could it,
Yeah.
How could you?
Yeah,
Right.
so here you are with Blow My Fuse, massively successful, and then Hotwire, it's not going to be a shocker if it doesn't meet or top that record, but it came in, quite a bit lower as far as sales and recognition, whatever. Why the decline when grunge is not quite all over the radio yet? Is it internal?
No, I don't. Well, there was something that happened.
Okay.
Not with me this time.
Okay.
I'm off the hook.
Okay.
Yeah.
For
I
once,
actually
right?
tried to mediate the situation. Oh gosh. All right.
You don't have to launder if you don't.
Yeah, we don't want to get
launder.
you in any hot water here,
Let's
but
just say Steve and Donnie had a little falling out there for a couple minutes. That record, I think, gosh, what I see, Dave and Jason, that happened, we took way too long to make the record.
Mm.
We made the record twice. We stayed here for 6 months and made demos when we should have been making the record, because the demos didn't change. What we took to Los Angeles, we re-recorded the same arrangements, the same guitar part. We knew what we were playing, but none of the arrangements changed. Tom Werman really didn't have any input. He actually got Donnie fired. He was always firing somebody. And that, I believe, was the big mistake. No offense, Donnie, but during Midnight Dynamite, Tom might only be in there 4 hours a day, but he could hear a good song. I like Tom, and he could hear if the solo was working or not. And he knew to turn my solo around, make it backwards, don't blow my fuse. And he knew he had some suggestions with, he would scratch his head and kind of have that confused look on his face that the arrangement wasn't right. We would change it. This is Blow My Fuse record. Okay, well, I would see him on the phone every day. He's talking to guys at Atlantic.
this is Tom Werman, right?
Yes.
Tom Werman, the producer. Okay.
Tom Werman, producer. Blow My Fuse.
Right.
He might only been there 4 hours a day, which kind of got to some of us. But the engineers, Dwayne and Purdell, John, they were there 12 hours, 14 hours, whatever it took to get the job done. They did all the Poison Motley Crue records. These guys were great. But Tom was on the phone with the record company, and we didn't have that with Hotwire. He had got Donnie and him fell out. Tom was fired, and we didn't have Tom there hyping the record to the guys at the record label. And maybe the songs weren't quite as exciting and as catchy as Blow My Fuse. We might have been trying to make that Blow My Fuse the second time, but you can't do that. Maybe we should have tried doing a couple things differently. I don't know what I don't know, but I do know that not having Tom there, rubbing those elbows and talking to that company was probably part of the reason that record just didn't get sent off into space as fast as the previous record. The interest wasn't it. And as you guys had mentioned, Nirvana was coming into play. So they're seeing this new wave of things coming in, this new transition into grunge rock, and seeing, we're trying to figure out what to scratch my head with hard rock. What are we going to do here, And that was part of the problem. Plus, we had went from Atlantic to East West, which is a division of Atlantic. We thought they were going to get. We made a mistake, and our management wanted us to try. We thought we'd get more attention from that one guy in one office, but it didn't work that way.
Right.
Those are the two things that I see to answer your question.
No, that's fair. Because to me, as a listener, the album is pretty solid. So I know that Nirvana wasn't all over the radio yet 24/7. They were definitely on their way.
It was on.
So I was curious to know if there was some internal friction or issues or breakdown or whatever, and it sounds like there was to some degree.
It sounds like there was, but it's also, we can't rule out the beginnings of a slippery slope of trends and taste makers and things like that, because I feel like I was going through a little bit of that around the same time.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is, in 92, I mean, I saw Dio in a 500 capacity club. I saw Anthrax and Motorhead in the same club.
Oh, yeah.
And so the numbers were way, way, way down across the board. And
sure.
And when Ronnie James Dio doesn't have a record deal, what am I doing right? You know what I mean? I'm the king of the castle, and I don't have a castle.
Right.
It was an interesting time and eye-opening to even the people who we grew up listening to, who you feel like, can do no wrong in the studio or when they write a song. And it was, I feel like everybody was feeling it just because there was a big shift coming, even though, in retrospect, I have no animosity, Nirvana made some great fucking records. Pearl Jam made some great fucking records.
They did.
Those bands that, if someone wants to call it hair metal or cock rock or whatever, that's a gatekeeper. If they want to call it grunge, that's a gatekeeper. And I hate that shit. I don't like any gatekeeping. And if it's good, it's good. I don't care if it's disco or blues or country or Christmas music. It doesn't matter. And so that was the beginning of a whole lot of Rolling Stone or all the hair metal magazines. There's a million of them. I won't name them all.
Right.
That were sort of also not selling as much because it had Janie Lane on the cover or whatever.
Right.
They had to put Nirvana on the cover. So that's an eye opener too. At the newsstand, you go shopping for clothes, fashion changed, everything changed.
Right.
And I think that it may or may not be a myth about that coming in cycles, some say 10-year cycles. When you think about right now in 2026, as we sit here and talk about, these things that we love and just what we do and who we are, it doesn't matter. In the end, it just doesn't matter. We are who we are no matter what, and we shouldn't change just because the wind blows.
Right.
And you take it day by day. It doesn't mean you're changing your wardrobe, But the way
a weird beard,
or a weird beard, or no weird beard. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. So I think that it's a great conversation to talk about this sort of, rise and fall, if you will, of how your songs are accepted and who's in the band anymore, or if the producer gets fired and who the new guy is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all just, ways to sort of measure where we are in time.
I think it's interesting for viewers and listeners, people that might not fully understand the inner workings of the music business or how, because on the outside, again, I have maybe a little deeper knowledge of things because of my background as a journalist, and I've got a bunch of musician friends, and Jason is a classic example. I've seen his whole career go up and down numerous times. But for the person, the casual listener or viewer, all they know is I didn't hear a song on the radio as big as "Don't Close Your Eyes." What happened? And they don't understand things like, well, the producer wasn't the same, and there was some friction between the band members, and there's many more reasons for it than what you might suspect from the outside.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of funny in retrospect. I recall a bunch of times that people had thought I could talk personally, but people thought their favorite band broke up just because they weren't on MTV anymore. Yet the band was working their balls off, doing 200 shows a year. They were just on an independent label, and there was no radio play or MTV, which is what became the trend. Which is what became, those were the machines that were keeping those, I don't want to disassociate, but we're keeping those fans alive because their only lifeline was radio and MTV. Well, if all of a sudden your band Kicks or Dangerous Toys or whatever is not on MTV, it doesn't mean the band fucking broke up.
No,
they might have 10 to 20 albums out by now, and you have 2. Right. And this whole fucking time you thought the band broke up.
Those are the people I'm trying to enlighten here with this very topic.
1000%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of albums that you might not knew existed or whatever, fast forward, Kix releases "Rock Your Face Off," which was a freaking great album, and I think it might have been your second most successful. I don't know if that's fair or not, but it was definitely critically acclaimed, and the fans that were still paying attention glommed onto it and went, "They're back." This is like a great record. So I wanted to give a shout out to that album, because people that stopped paying attention to Kix after "Blow My Fuse," if you're a fan of that record or any of the other Kix records, and you didn't know or weren't aware or forgot about "Rock Your Face Off," that album is worth picking up too. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was the second rendition of Kix with Mark in the group, and that was made in 2013, and
but you're on that record, Mark being the bass player, right?
Yeah, Mark,
right.
and he engineered the record because he's very good with that. And Taylor Rhodes was the producer, and Taylor had worked with us on Hot Wire, and he had written songs with Donnie, so we knew Taylor.
Taylor's. I've written with Taylor as well.
I'm sure you have.
He wrote. Didn't you write "Centerfold" for Jay Giles?
Yes, he worked with Peter Wolf.
Yeah, and he wrote "Crying" with Aerosmith.
Yes,
is that right?
He did.
Yeah,
that's correct.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Taylor's cool cat. Nashville guy. Yeah.
Wow.
He's talented.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent, and he's plays good guitar. So when we're working out songs, it was great. He picked up a guitar and we work on it together, Brian and Taylor and I.
Yeah.
Which was something I kind of missed when we worked with Bo Hill, because he didn't play guitar. He was a keyboard player.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like this mystery as to what Bo Hill, going back for a second. But but with Taylor, man, it was great. He'd pick up a guitar and play with us.
Yeah,
I love the guy.
He gets it.
Yeah, he was great to work with.
It was a funny thing about Taylor. Sitting there with guitars in my living room, and we're coming up with melodies and stuff, and we're not singing full bore, totally going. And so he's using this Mickey Mouse, singing the melody, because he knows that, like, where I sing and where Steve sings and whatever he's in, so he can kind of tell what it's kind of gonna emulate. It was a funny moment with Taylor, just hearing him kind of squeak his voice out like that, because you guys sing way up here and I don't sing up there like that. So anyway, funny memory with Taylor.
That's great, man. He's a talented person and great to work with, and we get the job done when Taylor's around. We just work constantly.
Yeah, he would wake up in coffee and grab a guitar, like you mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. So
no breakfast till the chorus was written.
That's right.
Yep.
He lived at Mark's house. Mark lives down in Chantilly, Virginia, near Dulles Airport. And Brian and I, we had a little place up. We rented a little hotel that we stayed at, so we were there every day. First up at bat every day. Yeah, we got the job done, and
Nice.
that is a great record. And I must hats off to Brian. He was the catalyst for Kixifying songs that I couldn't hear kicks in. That Mark brought to the table.
Kixify. I like that.
New word. Yeah.
I was finishing up stuff with the Vultures. My head was still kind of in the Vultures thing. I was like, oh, we're making a record. And I was hearing these, riding to shows with Mark and Brian. I was hearing these demos of Mark was presenting these songs. And Mark is a Van Halen guy. And his guitarist that he wrote with, total Van Halen guy, Rob Galvin. And I wasn't hearing it. But Brian created this magic. He took these songs and Kixified the riffs to them. And I was like, he blew me away with what he did with that record. Totally.
Wow. See, that's another thing to my earlier point. These are the kinds of conversations I love having on this show, because this is the kind of insight that people aren't aware of.
Okay.
And it's interesting from your perspective, Ronnie, as you know, what a difference the producer can make based on that person's musical background and ability. So one guy's a keyboard player, so he hears songs differently. The other guy's a guitar player, and you as a guitar player relate to that guy more. And these are all sort of those intangible ingredients that go into the mix that people don't really get to see or hear about. They just know the finished product, right?
Right.
So I'm loving all this chemistry talk, like what's going on behind.
There's a lot of big producers that don't even play instruments.
Right.
A lot of big producers don't even play, you know.
Yeah. So tell me then, in hindsight, are you satisfied with the legacy of Kix? And I ask this because obviously you have a lot of fans around the world that love the band, and also part of that is you have so many of your peers that point to Kix as an influence. Even the critics look at you as sort of an underdog influence that was critical to a sound that came to be huge. But Kix doesn't necessarily get mentioned in the same breath as Motley Crue or Poison or Rat or whatever.
Right.
But all of those bands would point back, and I can think of Poison especially. They look back at Kix and go, "Those are the guys we wanted to be."
Warrant.
So take all that together, and I don't want to answer the question for you, but I'm just offering perspective here. All that considered, are you satisfied with the legacy of Kix, or do you also think, like some critics do, that you deserve greater acclaim?
I'm satisfied to a point. I wish that we could have done more. I wish that we were still playing. I have my own personal regrets. I feel that it's a hard thing because I think there was a time, and a reason I think we didn't quite get in that door. We didn't get over that hump because we stayed here in Hagerstown. I might be wrong. When there was no media, there was no internet, there were just rock magazines, and the guys from Poison, they used to open for us in Harrisburg. They got in a van, they took it to LA, because guess where all the magazines are? Guess where everybody's rubbing elbows? Yeah, we played there, but we'd always come back home. Right. And there's no magazines here when we're 6 months making Hot Wire, and no magazines when we're back here. There's no media. The guys weren't really into playing that game. I was more the guy that would have, I liked playing that game. Because when we would be on Sunset Strip, I would be flying with Bobby Dahl. We were down putting flyers all over. It was Paramount, I think it was called, this venue of Ramones are playing. We're flying all the cars for shows that we're doing. and we played shows with Poison out there. Those guys at that time, and I loved being out there. It was exciting for me, and I've lived out a few times. A couple of guys in the band didn't like it there at all. But I liked being entertained at the time. I was young, and I was,
Yeah.
I was eager. And I lived out there later a couple times and worked out there and whatever. But I feel that, yes, of course, I wish we would have been up there with the other guys, the big boys. But I'm grateful for everything that we did, we worked for. And like I said, you reap what you sow. And personally, it's hard. I did a lot of damage to things, the band, my family, myself. And I have a lot of regrets, only I can't regret the past and let it take me down, but I cannot shut the door on it.
Right.
And I can see where I made my mistakes and not repeat them. Mm. It really hurts when I'll see these videos or podcasts or these little clips made that really dismiss me as a part of the group. And I worked my ass off in that band, and I will, there were times I worked 18, 20 hours a day for Donnie. And to be dismissed at this point in my life, it hurts. But that's what I brought on by 2 years, the last 2 years. I was in that group for 37 years of my life. I started that band.
Right.
And for someone who doesn't know me and to just dismiss me, oh, he plays in some Baltimore band, okay, well, maybe you could do your homework a little bit better, or call me and I'll talk to you about this. And that's the, I have to accept those consequences, and that's going to happen for me, that people don't know me and they just see the guy that come in and took my place, they know my parts. They don't know that he wasn't there all those years riding in the back of that van, moving equipment, sending out flyers, sending out, mailing out stuff, working for the guy I started the band with, being there with Jimmy, cutting those tapes, mailing out all these demos. I was there. I did the work, and I'm grateful for it. And I will stand up for that. And I, won't back down. Yeah, I was born with alcoholism. My great-great-grandfather died an alcoholic. My dad never drank. My grandfather never drank because they saw my great-grandfather did. And I share this so that I hope that it helps another musician or any person to not go down that path. Yeah. Thanks for letting me share that, and it's, so I don't, that bothers me.
Well, here's the thing, and Jason's heard me say this numerous times because, as we mentioned earlier in the conversation, I myself am not a musician, but I'm obviously a huge fan of music. And I asked the question because in a lot of ways, okay, so maybe you didn't have the record sales of a Motley Crue, okay? But you and Jason both have accomplished something beyond your wildest 14-year-old dreams.
Right.
You were signed to a major label. You put songs out into the world that people will never forget. You won, and so
okay, yeah.
And I get it. I get how your perspective can be distorted when you're in the industry and you're in the game, because you're always, whether you're doing it consciously or your manager's doing it, somebody's always chasing the numbers, right? And they're like, okay, oh, well, this album only went gold and it should have gone platinum or whatever.
Good
so
point.
Your expectations are unrealistic at some point.
Right.
But you bring it all back down to you being a 12-year-old kid in your bedroom listening to that first Aerosmith record.
Right.
And you go, hey, man, I fucking had a number 11 song on the charts, man.
Okay.
My album went platinum. I was on a major. I toured arenas. You did it. So
Yeah.
the reason I asked the question is because
Okay. I get it.
I know that it's tempting to possibly go, man, you know, I wish we could have, should have, would have.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
But I don't ever want any of you guys, you, Jason, or, you know, so many others, to lose sight of the fact that, man, you did what so many of us would kill for. You know, you made your mark. That's my point. So whatever,
Thank you.
Some albums sell, some albums don't do as well, whatever, but no one's ever going to forget Don't Close Your Eyes.
Right.
And people are going to be rock and blow my fuse for, you know, ever. So, and same with Dangerous
great.
Toys. So,
Yeah.
Man.
Well, thank you for pointing that out to me. And yeah, I am very grateful for what we did. Like,
Oh yeah.
with Jason and the Kicks and the Dangerous Toys, that whole thing. We're hardworking guys, man.
Yeah.
And we still do.
Yeah, and I want to comment about, you know, I've always been in bands where there's been a few of the guys that hate flyering. I was always the guy out there flyering. So that schmoozing and rubbing elbows and you know, handing a flyer to people and meeting people who love rock and roll, that was kind of an important part of the work. I mean, I'm pushing cases and loading vans and unloading vans and setting up sound check and da-da-da-da-da for my friends' bands, and I'm not even getting to relish in I'm not even playing that night.
Right.
So that's the whole, like, that was my attitude growing up and doing this shit too, and it sounds like it was yours too. Now, the big sharing of today and the lessons that you've learned, Ronnie, about yourself and the hard work that you've also had to do, not just pushing cases and flyering your whole fucking life. You've also battled demons the whole time too. And I really, really appreciate you sharing with us today and letting everybody understand that your journey was not just like, you know, smiles the whole time, that it was a lot of work, and you were lost a lot of the time, and you had to find your way back, and that your band took care of you, whether you recall it or not, but you know that now. And anyway, there was so much that you said today that was eye-opening, and you had to learn, you probably had to learn how to talk about it and share it with us and show us your wounds and shit. And that's appreciated, and I don't want that to go overlooked in this conversation that we had today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And it's for me, it's a passion of rock and roll and the music, as we all have that passion here.
Sure.
All three of us talk and have that passion.
Yeah.
And we see that in the guys that we look up to and the people we learn from. And that's what transcends. And for me, I just want to carry on rock and roll. Roots rock and roll. It's in my heart, it's in my soul. I can't be anything other than that. And that's what I'm going to do from now on. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And
We're all lucky people.
We are.
So yeah.
Do we have time? Do you guys have another 5 minutes to touch on the KISS audition, or do we need to wrap up?
Yeah, sure.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Do you mind? I know you touched on it. You touched on it earlier, but Jason and I are massive KISS fans, and it's kind of the elephant in the room. I'd feel like I didn't do my job if I didn't ask you about that experience. Can you share with our viewers and our listeners what that audition process was like? And we can keep it quick. You don't have to get into all this.
Who set that up? How did you get the call or the invitation?
Bambi set it up. This girl I knew in Los Angeles.
Okay.
She was dating Eric Carr, and it's kind of that thing, you know. What's a girlfriend? I mean, what's a guitar player without a girlfriend? Homeless, right?
Hey,
I was foodless, and she would go get me food and buy me some drinks, even though I wasn't supposed to be drinking, but I didn't know that. I was, you know, she goes, oh yeah. I would see her at the clubs. I'd go out to the clubs, see all the bands, and I really didn't have any money. And so she would buy me a drink and buy me some food, you know, and that kind of thing. She said, hey man, did you know Kiss was like auditioning guitar players? I said, no. She goes, you should go. So she talked to Eric, and they were at SIR, I think. I forget what street that's on. So I went down. I met Eric first. He was shooting pinballs out in the lounge, and then I have my old 79 Red Les Paul with me, and then I met Paul Stanley. Came in, took my guitar. He goes, "It's in C." He's playing me these chords. It was not a song that I'd ever heard before. He didn't sing a lyric or didn't hum a melody. He just played the chords. I went, okay. And then he left. I didn't see him again. But Gene Simmons was in the booth. And it was quite intimidating, I must say. So he goes, are you ready? And you would think Kiss would have like walls of Marshalls. They had one Marshall head in a cabinet because they're just auditioning guys, right? Yeah. So what do? I fried a Marshall amp. I was so
fried the amp?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just stopped working on me. So I said, I'm looking at I'm like, oh shit. I have a Marshall back in my apartment. So I get in my van. I go down up to Larrabee Street. It probably took me a half hour to get my old Marshall. I had a 73 or 4 Marshall head. I go back. I set it on the cabinet, plug it in. Well, my amps were so old that I still had the 2-prong wires on them. Oh, shit. So it's buzzing. Oh, yeah. So Gene Simmons, I'm looking in there, he's making out he's shaving. Because my amp is going zoom. And I don't know, with the Kicks band, I had some ground isolation transformer or something to keep from buzzing. Yeah. So later I put the plugs on it, you know, had it modified. But this is stock 74 Marshall head. And I'm like kind of shaking in my shoes at this point. So he rolls the track, and I'm like, okay, calm down, take the Les Paul, do what you do. So I was used to a regiment with the Kicks band that during the verse, unless it's a fill that you worked out, you don't play during the verse. I wasn't playing during the first verse. He stops, he goes, well, are you going to play or aren't you going to play? I went, oh, okay, you want me to play? Yeah, just play. So then I knew what he wanted. And so then I just played through the whole thing. And I had a blast doing it. And then he let me hang out all day. He had the first Kicks record, and they had pictures of guitar players laying everywhere. But they'd been writing songs with Denny Vincent. But they were kind of like checking out all the other guitar players. I was like number 119. There was one guy that came in with after me. And right away, I went, oh, no, you don't do that. The guy came in with his girlfriend, and she's hooking, and he's plugging into my amp. That's why I was able to hang out, because my amp was out there. Right. And I was like, oh, big mistake, dude. Yeah. I'm sorry. You know, but yeah, he was a little more like wheelie-dealy kind of crazy playing. But Paul gave me a compliment, and it meant a lot to me. He said, you play like Paul Kossoff. And I was like, thank you. And I appreciate that. Hats off to you. Thank you. Didn't get the gig. They asked me if I would dye my hair black. Yeah, sure, I would do that. Yeah. And I said, yeah, sure. No, of course. You know, whatever. But it was an experience, and it's a great memory. I have fun telling the story. Thanks for asking.
Oh, yeah. You remember what song it was that you were?
No. And I wish I had a copy of that to try to find if they turned it into a song that we all know and love today. I do not think so.
So you were basically rehearsing a song that was in progress. You weren't
in progress. That's right, Dave.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
There were no lyrics on it, no vocals. It was drums, bass, and rhythm guitars.
Okay.
And
see that There you go. This is right back to my point that I made earlier. 14-year-old you would never imagine that you'd be in a room with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley auditioning for a slot in Kiss, right?
No, never. I'm a Kiss fan. As a matter of fact, I'll say, shut up. I watch for inspiration as to lead a band and for that direction and stay focused. I'll turn on and watch a documentary and watch what Paul and Gene have to say. And I love Ace. I love his guitar.
Yeah.
I love his he was the anarchist in the band. That's part of me too. I mean, you know,
Right.
I was the Ace Frehley in the Kicks band, you know, but you know, now I have to stay focused like Gene and Paul, but I still got the Ace in me. I love that group. I love what they accomplished. And, but yeah, so I saw Kiss 75 at Capitol Center in Largo, Maryland.
Yeah.
Kiss Alive. I would have never thought at 18 years old I would ever be standing in a studio blowing up a Gene Simmons Marshall amplifier.
Or get to see him do this through the glass.
Yeah,
through your buzzing amp. Yeah.
Oh man, that's when I think intimidation set in. I was like, okay, settle down. I can do this, and I did. So it was cool.
Good for you.
Yeah, man.
Whatever. It's a good story. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, of course. You have accomplished a lot, and I hope you're proud of your place in rock and roll. You've given us some great records.
Thank you, Dave.
Your honesty today has been off the charts. We appreciate that too. So thank you for being so bold and so honest with us. And I want people to go check out the Blues Vultures. It's
absolutely.
your current band, 3 albums out. The latest is called "You Can't Ruffle My Feathers," and it's great classic rock sounding stuff in the vein of Stones, Aerosmith, New York Dolls, etc. So
that's right.
Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed the conversation.
You guys are awesome.
Dude, you're awesome. And keep on the straight and narrow, man. We want you alive, and we want you making more records. So
I will, absolutely.
Keep doing what you're doing, brother.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you guys today, and thank you so much. And hats off to all the rock and roll fans for keeping us going.
Absolutely. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest today, Ronnie Younkins, on the Talk Louder podcast.
Thank you.